Good afternoon. I'm Peter Pike, board certified real estate attorney, coming to you from the beautiful Sarasota offices of RASM, Realtor Association of Sarasota and Manatee. We're going to talk today about wire fraud and scams that are going on. Just so you understand, in 2020, there were over 13,500 people who were victims of wire fraud. It was over $213 million. Huge amounts of money, huge amounts of people are getting defrauded. Just yesterday, put it this way, every day there are people trying to scam me. And by the way, all of us, realtors, attorneys, title companies, anybody involved in the real estate process, mortgage brokers, mortgage companies, lenders, we all have a big fat target on our back, because we deal with lots of money going back and forth. We're constantly under deadlines, and we're constantly doing things fast, which gives scammers the opportunity to try to steal other people's money. All right. Now, this seminar is designed to give you an insight as to how things work, what's going on, what to watch out for. But there is no guarantee if you do everything that I tell you to do that you won't be scammed, okay? It's all a question of being vigilant about everything. That's number one. And number two, just thinking and recognizing something could be a problem. So for example, yesterday, I got an email from someone who said, here is your secure line to get the estoppel certificate you ordered for, and they put down the name of the association. Sounds correct, since we had a closing coming up. We were expecting an estoppel from the association. However, before we in my office will click on anything, we need to make sure that it's real. And one of the things we do is we check to see who's the person sending it to us. Are they in our database? Is it someone that we've sent an email to asking for this information? And it wasn't. The other clue, which was really the telltale clue, was that the email address had nothing to do with the person's name or with the HOA association. Apparently, though, somebody had gotten into someone's communications. They knew who I was, that I was doing the closing. They knew the closing was coming up soon. They knew the name of the association. They knew all of these different things. And they sent last minute something saying, here are your instructions, and it would have been a payoff. And a lot of money could have been lost. Thankfully, we're watching out for it. And you at home, all the realtors out there, you need to understand what's going on, because your customers need to be educated as to what they have to watch out for. When we saw this happen, the next thing I did was I called to known phone numbers, the buyer, the seller, the realtor, and the bank, all of them, and let them know that there may have been a breach in our communications, and they need to be very aware of any other communications going back and forth at this point in time. And if there's any issues, they need to call. You know, old fashioned, I know. What are we, Amish? We have to actually make a phone call? Yes. You make the phone call to a known phone number to follow up and make sure that everything is okay. So, why isn't this working? We'll do it this way. There we go. So, why should you care? You know, why is realtor? It's not your money. Yeah, you might lose a commission, but listen, in this market, you'll get that house sold again really fast. Well, first of all, it's not just your commission. It also is your reputation. And what's worse is if it was your fault that these scammers were able to get in, you could be held liable civilly for it. All right. I had a situation, my neighbor across the street from me was selling their house. The buyer supposedly made a $100,000 down payment, which never arrived. People were kind of sort of following up for it, but it was coming from Italy, so it takes a while. No, wires from Italy do not take a while. 1 or 2 days at best, maybe. All right, not weeks and months. It wasn't until a few days before closing that people woke up and realized this guy's wire, which was sent, never arrived because he sent it to the wrong person. Now, $100,000 is a lot of money to us, right? Yeah, this person, he's Italian. He has something to do with Formula One, and I can't give you names or anything because I don't know them, but he was buying 3 houses here in the United States. He lost $2.1 million in this one scam. Okay. Yeah. Incredibly scary how much we need to worry about. So what do we worry about? Who gets sued? Everybody. If your buyer loses all this money, most people can't afford to take that hit. Most people do not have insurance that are protecting them from this. So what are they going to do? They're going to go looking to see who can we sue. And if it was your fault because you didn't protect yourself, or because maybe you didn't explain to them what they needed to do to protect themselves, they can come after you. If it was my fault because I didn't protect everything, they can come after me. We all need to be careful of this, okay? We're also a little bit worried, by the way, that courts are ruling on this issue, okay? And they are holding the party liable who was responsible in the first place for a scammer to be able to insert themselves into the deal. And by the way, one thing I've got to tell you is sometimes it is the realtor's fault, and we're going to go into how that can happen. And it's just the way that you do business and the way we all do business. We're all targets. Remember that. Okay. By the way, whether or not it's your fault, guess who's going to get a bad review on Google? And that's the last thing any of us needs, right? So that's why you should care. I care. You should too. All right. So these are the basics. All right. Somehow or other, a fraudster learns of an upcoming transaction. We'll talk about how they find those things out. All right. They put it this way. Everything anybody needs to know is probably out there on the internet right now. And we're putting it out there. All right. They break into somebody's computer who's involved in the transaction through different ways. They may do this in order to send out a phony email sent with phony wire instructions. And if that money is wired away, generally it is history. Now, there are times if you can figure out the fraud really fast, less than a day, less than 24 hours, sometimes, and I'll give you the information on what you can do, if it's reported to the FBI quick enough, they might be able to get that money back. I know of a situation about a week ago where somebody actually lost $175,000 in a scam, but they recognized it early enough and the FBI was able to bring that money back, because usually it gets wired to an account, maybe here in the US, probably, but it's immediately sent out overseas. And when I say overseas, I'm talking about Africa, the Far East, or Eastern Europe, where we don't have all that much influence. And basically, once the money's over there, it's gone. It's not coming back. All right. So how do they learn about these things? Well, number one, social media. How many of you post online anytime you get a new contract in? Look at me, a happy buyer signing the contract for this property. Not a good thing. Tell somebody that it happened. All right. The buyer posts on their Facebook page, hey, look, this is the house that we're buying. Also not a good thing. Or the seller posts somewhere, thank God I got it sold and for more money than I ever thought I would get. The best thing anybody can do is wait until the transaction is over. It's really hard to do that. You want to go ahead and, let the world know what a great job you're doing. And of course, your buyer and seller are excited. They want to let the world know, hey, look at me. I'm buying a new house. But you've got to explain to them not to put it out on social media until after we have closed. That's one easy way that they're able to find out what's going on. Okay. By the way, it's not just social media. They look at websites. How many people here have their own website which you use to try to drive traffic to you? Of course you do. You have to. And if somebody gets on your website and says, oh, I'm interested in this property, and they fill out their name and their phone number and their email address, and you send them something back. Well, now all of a sudden, there's somebody safe to you. You think that they are somebody you can trust. It's an email you can trust. What happens if they send you, you set them up online so that they get notices of all these different houses that meet their expectations, and they send you something back that says, I saw this house, I really wasn't sure. Could you please click on this so that it can download easier to my computer? If you ever click on anything that you don't positively know what it is, you are putting everybody at risk. And unfortunately, this is the world we live in. So you need to be extra careful as to what you click on. Be very, very careful. All right. So they will go onto websites. They'll see what properties you have listed. And on your website, what happens when you have something that's listed and it gets sold? How fast do you change that on your website to sold? Probably pretty quickly, right? Because you want to let people know. Well, once you do that, now they know, ooh, here's a property. I've got an address. I know it's just been sold. And by the way, once they have the address, how hard is it to find out who the seller is? I'm going to tell you right now, I can find it in about 30 seconds. Right? It's really easy to look up who owns a piece of property here in Florida. That's both a positive for us. We're in the Sunshine State, so sunshine laws mean we're supposed to be able to get this, but it's also a little bit of a negative because anybody can find it and use it for bad reasons. By the way, they may also contact you directly, okay? You may be holding an open house and someone comes to the open house, says, hi, I'm interested in buying a house. This is great. Let me get your card. Let me leave you my name. Maybe if you find something for me. The idea is they want you to befriend them. How do you know if it's real or not? You don't. You don't. So you have to, unfortunately, suspect everybody. And until you know better, you have to just be careful. Now, when I say suspect everybody, that does not mean that, oh, really, you're here at my open house and you want me to talk to you, huh? How do I know you're real? Are you one of those frauds? Don't do that. But like I said, if you ever get something from them asking you to click on a link, do not do it. Okay, just don't click on the link. That's the most dangerous thing. How many people out there, real people, buyers and sellers, actually have something for you to click on to get them information? Yeah, exactly. Everybody's shaking their head no. Odds are it's not real. Try and use your head. Don't do that. Okay. All right. By the way, these are not the only way that these things happen. There's a lot of other things that go on. And by the way, everything is constantly changing. Okay. I got lucky yesterday because the email address was wrong. But there are ways of spoofing email addresses that could make it look like it was a real email address. By the way, we don't open anything without really being sure. And if it really looked like it was the right email address, but a wrong name, we would call up the company and say, hey, I got something like this from you. And by the way, I can't tell you how many times I've called up banks. Banks, they're supposed to know this stuff. They know what's going on. It's their money that's getting stolen. And I get stuff from banks constantly that say, okay, here are your closing docs. Click here. It's like, for which file? There's no name. There's no address. There's no nothing. The bank is right. I know that this is a bank we're dealing with. And we call up the bank and say, hey, I got this. Is this real? Yes, it is. Well, what are you doing? Don't you realize how dangerous everything is right now? You need to make it easier for us to be able to know that this is real. Okay. And that's what you're going to have to do. Like I said, you're going to have to make phone calls. It's not always fun, but you need to do it. Okay. The first goal of every scammer is to learn as much as possible. What can they find out about the transaction? They go on social media. Somebody posts, I just bought a house. They might put down the address. All of a sudden, bam, they've got a lot of information. They've got a name. They've got a property address. If they are smart enough, they may be able to get onto the MLS, or maybe they just happen to find it on the listing agent's website. So they know who the listing agent is. How hard is it for me to find out your email addresses? Generally, it's not that tough. Some of you, and by the way, it should not be tough. You want your email addresses out there because you want people to get in touch with you. That's important. But once they get your email address, they get your website, they start following you on social media, so they know what they need to look for. All right. It was 1st and 10. They just made a first down. They've gotten all this information. Where are they going to next? They want to move the chains. And basically, they want to find out all of the other information they need by tricking someone involved in the transaction to click on a link, to give them additional information to do something. All right. There are a lot of different ways that they do that. One way, it's called spoofing, social engineering, phishing with a PH, spear phishing. That's a type of phishing where you're actually going after one specific thing. There's something called a whaling attack, where they're sending out a whole bunch of stuff in the hopes of getting things. And by the way, all they need is one person to click on a link. Once they get that, they get into your computer, they can get into the whole chain, and they can really defraud people easily. Okay, so please be very, very careful. Like I said, clicking on that link. All right, next, what do we want to do? This is called spoofing. Spoofing is a tactic where the criminal disguises their malicious emails or whatever they're trying to communicate, however they're communicating with you, as something that is from a trusted source. Remember, if we trust somebody, oh, that email must be good, right? So, for example, one thing they do is they send out something from an email address that is very similar to an email address that you're recognizing. So here, for example, I have 2 email addresses up there on the screen. Can you tell me what the difference is between the 2 of them? Not so easy to tell, is it? And if you're just looking at things quickly, you're not going to notice that one is Susie Sells SRQ at gmail.com. And the other one is Susie Sells SRG at gmail.com. How many of us have a Gmail account, a Yahoo account, a Ymail account, or any other account that is incredibly easy and free to set up? Somebody gets your email address. I have, Susie Sells SRQ at gmail.com. Take out one of those S's. It just says Susie Sell SRQ at gmail.com. Or anything else. How hard do you think it is to get that email address? It's not. Okay, and they're able now to send out what we think is a friendly email, something safe. It says, hey, here, check out this picture I sent to you, this property on the property, something great. It's coming from you. It's coming from the broker, from the agent. And the customer goes ahead and clicks on it. And now all of a sudden, the scammer is into their computer. It's very, very important to recognize what your email address is, and to, by the way, let your customers know that they need to watch out. They need to make sure that it is your full email address, that it always has, you always have your picture on it. It's got your whole little thing, you have your name and everything else at the bottom. Sometimes, they copy that stuff into their own emails. All right, so that's not the perfect thing, but if it's missing, they know that they need to be a little bit wary. All right. So make sure your customers know that they need to watch out for that. So at first glance, the email appears real, and they ask you to go ahead and click on the website. And now all of a sudden, that spoof comes along and you are dead meat. Now, let me ask you something. Who's at fault for the buyer clicking on something that comes from SusieSellsSRG@gmail.com? Is it the buyer? A little bit. But how about Susie? You know, that's a pretty easy email to spoof. You want to be careful. Again, you want to make sure that your customers know they have to be looking just for yours. So if you've got a really, really long email address at gmail.com, you may want to try to change it, because the longer it is, the harder it is to notice that something in there is wrong. I had that happen to me years ago. I got an email from someone who I thought was my client. By the way, it was a Gmail account, and it was off by one letter. I didn't notice it because, you know, this is years ago. We weren't even thinking about it. It's about 3 years ago. We weren't even thinking about this back then. And it said, hey, Peter, listen, you know, we're closing next week. They knew the closing date. It was a commercial deal. He said, listen, I'm going to use my money from the sale. I want you to wire it to my bank in Mexico because I'm buying something down in Mexico. Well, quite frankly, this guy could have been doing that. Luckily, we had in place certain rules about wires. We never send out a wire to anybody without first getting them on the phone through a known phone number and confirming the wire instructions. That afternoon, I was talking to him and I said, oh, by the way, I got your email. You want me to wire this to Mexico? He said, why would I want you to wire to Mexico? I'm not doing anything in Mexico. And we went back and looked at the email address. And like I said, it was incredibly close. So you have to be very, very careful. Another thing that they might do, all right, in spoofing is a spoof of your website. Okay. They can take your website again, if you're, you know, if you're let me start this again. They can take your website and spoof it to make it look like their website is yours, right? It's not, but it might be, you know, www.SusieSellsSRG rather than SusieSellsSRQ, all right? Be very careful. Again, make sure your customer knows exactly what's going on. By the way, one thing that they love to do is they try to make things feel like they're urgent, because let's face it, this is real estate. This is more important than life and death. Everything is urgent. We've got to get it done now. We've got to get it done today. We've got to move. Because, you know, if you don't stay on top of the people, things don't happen. Well, anytime that somebody gets an email that's marked urgent, rush, must happen, red flag should go off, because that's what a scammer is trying to do to you. Make you rush so you don't look at everything that's going on. All right. They may use your name. They may use your colors that you always use. All right. The websites look similar, but they're really not. By the way, this is the website that you're seeing up there. That's not a real website for the real bank. That was actually a spoofed website for a bank. All right. It looks exactly like the actual bank's website, except that the URL, which is not shown, is slightly different from the real bank's URL. How often does anybody even look at that? Do you look at that when you, no, of course not. All right. They got the victim to click on a link in an email, looked like it came from the bank. They got them to this website. And when they put in their user and ID password into their bank account, and guess what? Now they were able to get everything they wanted out of their bank account. You have to be careful, unfortunately. There's other types of spoofing involving telephones. All right. Phone calls and text messages. Someone can steal the look of your phone number and make it seem like they're sending a text to you from you. I'm sorry, text to your customer that's coming from you. They can make it look like that. For example, your phone rings. Sorry, shouldn't have hit that one yet. For example, your phone rings, okay? You answer it, and someone convinces you to dial a sequence of numbers. Hi, this is the phone company. We've been reported there's a problem on this line, and we're trying to make sure that everything is okay. I need you to dial the following numbers. Are you going to say no? You're going to say no from now on. Do not allow people to force you to dial numbers. What you do is you say, you know what? I don't know who you are. I'm going to call the phone company back, and I'll get back to you if you're real, and then I'll do it. Always call a known phone number. Do not trust anything that comes over the internet to you, okay? All right. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. What happens is, if you put those numbers in, all of a sudden now, your phone or your look of your phone is now forwarded to another phone number that they control. So now they can make phone calls that look like it's coming from you, and they can send texts that look like it's coming from your phone number. So be very careful with that. By the way, texting is generally not a very good idea for business. I know we all love to text. We all think it works great. Personally, I don't look at my texts every day because I'm in front of a computer all day. So I'm looking at my emails, but I don't look at my texts until the day after, or 2 days, then maybe 2-3 days later. And people know this, so they don't text me. But texting is very easy to spoof, so be careful with that. All right. Next, there's social engineering, all right? The idea behind social engineering is to try and trick you into doing something because you believe it has to be done. So they are exploiting your human errors and behaviors to conduct a cyber attack. What does that mean? Well, it's possible that somebody is faking that they are an IT professional. They call you up and say, hey, how many people here get those emails? I know I get them. Hey, your website doesn't look so great. Call me and I can fix it for you. All right? Yeah, every day. I won't go near them. Do not use an IT professional that you don't know and trust. By the way, if you have any IT problems, who are you going to call first? Anybody here know? My husband. You're going to call your husband. You're going to call Apple. Did you know that you can actually call the Florida Realtors, and they have an IT hotline available for you for free? Your cell phone, they'll help you with it. Your computer, they'll help you with it. They'll do all those things for free. And you are the one making the phone call out. By the way, they don't call you up and say, hi, this is Florida Realtors. We're the hotline. And by the way, nobody's been calling us, so we're making some calls out to you. That doesn't happen. But you can call them and find out things and ask them to help you with them. All right. So if somebody calls you up and says, hey, it looks like you're having a problem with this, don't believe them. Call up the hotline and ask them. They may have even know about this fraud. Okay. Very careful. Remember to use that. All right. If you give them the information they want, oftentimes they're able to get into your computer. They'll say, hey, you know what? How many times have you given control of your computer over to another person sitting in another state? I have. I do it all the time. All right. I have a specialized program that's cloud-based for doing closings. They oftentimes need to be able to get in when we're having a problem to figure out what's the problem with the program. Why isn't it working right? My IT people, who I was referred to, who I vetted, I've been using them for years. Sometimes they need to get control. I'm good with that too. Why? Because I have called them. If they were to call me and say, hey, we need to get into your computer, well, at the very least, I do know that with my IT people, I have to go online onto their website. I know what it is. It's in my computer. It's not being spoofed because I type in their full, I don't just click on Google and say Google for them and then click on the website. I type in their actual URL so I know that I'm safe. That way, yeah. But other than that, you don't want anybody getting control of your computer, because once they do, you're in trouble. All right. So you may get, oops, sorry, one page. There we go. All right. Okay. So with this type of thing, cyber engineering, okay, it comes in so many different forms. I can't even begin to tell you all of them. But the basic of it is somebody gets you to allow them into your computer or into your phone because they have marked something urgent. Okay, right away, your emotions are highlighted. All right, so are heightened. I'm sorry. Something they're doing is making you nervous, scared, or whatever. You might get a message from a friend. How many of us have gotten this message? Hi, Peter. I'm sorry. So the email. Hi, Peter. It's Betty. I'm stuck over here, and my credit cards aren't working. Could you please just take care of this for me? Send me the number or whatever, and pay for this for me. I hope nobody's falling for that one. You haven't gotten that one yet? Okay, somebody here hasn't got it. You'll get it. Don't worry. We all do. I mean, is there anybody here who has not yet gotten at least one Nigerian prince email? The Nigerian prince email is very, very, goes back way. It's, and it's not always a Nigerian prince, but it goes like this. Hi, I am a Nigerian prince, and I have $15 million hidden in a bank over here that I need to get out because I'm getting out of the country. I need for you to help me do this, and I'm willing to share some of this money with you. You're laughing. People fall for this.
I'm laughing because I see it.
Okay. Yes, their English. Well, no, their English is getting a lot better. And by the way, it's getting a little bit more. It's not always a Nigerian prince anymore. I get emails all the time that just say, Mr. Pike, can you help me with a contract? That's all it says. I don't know who the heck they are. I don't know what kind of contract. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know where they got my name. Generally speaking, I'm not going near that email. Even if it's not asking me to click on anything, I'm not responding to it because I know that sooner or later, I have a real risk of losing money. I'd rather lose the client who I didn't know anyway than take the risk that I'm going to be sending them money that's not good. Sometimes you'll get offers that feel too good to be true. Hey, click here now, and Amazon is going to send you and Apple is going to send you a free iPhone. What a great thing, right? They're not giving free iPhones away. All right. There was a big scam about that where, hey, Apple is giving away 1 million new phones and you can get it. And people clicked. Don't click. I'm just giving you all of this so that you know. You've got to be aware. And by the way, you need to make your customers aware as well. Now, don't frighten them. There's no reason to be frightened. We are safe as long as we make sure that we just check up on everything. All right. All right. So some red flags from social engineering are a friend sending you a strange message. Anytime a message is sent where your emotions are heightened for whatever reason, it's urgent, it's important right away. You got to do this right now, right? An offer that feels too good to be true. You're receiving help that you did not ask for. Okay, things like this. Or the sender just can't prove their identity. I'm telling you right now, those are all red flags. Are they all scammers? Probably not. But the odds are most of them are. So please be careful with them. The next thing is phishing. All right. These are email messages, website forms, phone calls that they use to obtain private information. All right. It's really seems like it's innocuous communication. I mean, how many times do you go on a website and they say to you, well, in order to proceed further on, because you want to come onto our website, we need your email address and set up yourself, give us your name, your address, your email address, your date of birth, that type of thing. By the way, just so you know, I have a Gmail account. That is not my regular account. I don't use it for anything except to fill in stuff like that so that anything I get there I know is spam and I don't have to bother looking at it. Okay, that's, what you can use that for in case you need to get onto these websites, and I'm not giving them anything that will help them. All right, so you have to be careful with that. All right, what they're really trying to do is to fool you into giving them a logon that you may use, and of course your password. Please be very careful with them. I know it's a pain in the neck, and you change them every 3 months for the bank because they don't let you get away with not doing that. But it's kind of important. And I'm guilty. I have an Excel spreadsheet on my computer with all of my passwords and everything because I can't remember them. But you've got to try somehow or other to keep those passwords going, to be careful and not let people get them. All right. Spear phishing is a more targeted attack. Phishing goes out to lots and lots of people. Spear phishing is targeted. So when somebody's spear phishing you, they know that you're a realtor. They know you may be involved in a real estate transaction, and they are targeting you with a letter, an email that looks like it might have to do with one of your transactions or one of your listings or one of your buyers. It looks real, it sounds real, and they are very sophisticated. Okay. Anytime you get something that is unexpected, again, that asks you to click or respond or do something, be wary. Not saying that's always wrong. I'm just telling you, be aware, worry about it. Another thing is called whaling, a whaling attack. And that's also known as business email compromise, which is a more targeted variation of spear phishing aimed at high-profile executives or personnel who manage wire transfers. Guess what? I'm a person who manages wire transfers, and believe it or not, you come close to being that also. How many people here have delivered wire instructions to their buyer in order to be able to get the down payment over to the settlement agent, right? I got one person saying no, but I can see a few people nodding their heads yes.
I took your class already. I knew.
Beth took my class already, so she knew. I talk to Beth all the time. I would have smacked her if she had done that. But yes, and you had to wire money when you closed your house. So basically, the idea behind wires is you only, first of all, never, ever, ever, never trust wire instructions that come via email, no matter what. When you get those wire instructions, and tell your customers this, they need to call a known phone number for the settlement agency, because usually it's the settlement agent who's asking the wires to be coming in. And they call that number and say, I need to confirm your wire instructions. Everybody knows about this. Hopefully every single settlement agent you work with is doing this. My office, we don't wait for somebody to call us. We call them. We send out the wire instructions, and then we try and reach them and say, hi, I'm calling. We want to confirm the wire instructions with you. We also make sure everybody knows our wire instructions do not change during the course of the transaction, because that's another big time spoof, where they get an email that looks like it's coming from the settlement agent, very, very, very close. That says, yeah, we changed banks. We gave you the wrong bank account information. This is the correct information. Please make sure you send it to us. And it's so clear. It's like, I don't have time to even call to confirm it. You must make time to call to confirm it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can't imagine anybody, any settlement agent out there, changing their bank accounts in the middle of a transaction. If I'm changing my bank account, I finish out everything that I've got in this bank before I, start using this bank, or, they're kept separate. I will never transfer money from this bank to this bank for any reason at all. So be very careful when you see that. All right. Okay. Talked about phishing. Okay. We want to get the chains moved again. The fraudster now, if they've been able to get you to click or do anything, they've inserted themselves into the emails and they can actually see the emails going back and forth without you knowing about it. So now they know the closing date. They know who the settlement agent is and they know what their emails look like. They know who the buyer and seller are. They know what their emails look like. They know who the agents are and the lender and the people working for the lender and everything else. They've amassed a bunch of information. It's easy for them to fake it and make it look like you are getting something that is real, okay? All right, so why are you such a tempting target? Well, there's a lot of targets. We've been talking at them, the buyers, the sellers, the agents, the lender, the settlement agent. There's a lot of people involved, all right? If one doesn't work, they can always go to another one. So right away, why us? Because we're just part of a big chain of people and we only need one person to screw up to get it. There's lots and lots of money involved. I don't remember, but the average transaction in Sarasota is like 400 and something thousand, and same with Manatee County. Well, that means for me as a settlement agent, I've got 400 plus thousand coming into my account and 400,000 plus going out of my account on one transaction. That's two chances for a fraudster to get all of that money. It's a lot of money, and if they can get it, and by the way, they do sometimes, there have been a number of instances locally involving larger settlement agencies who have actually lost money for people. So it does happen. You have to be careful. All right. Real estate transactions, like I said, it's a target-rich environment. There's lots and lots and lots of things that people can go ahead and go after. Marketing a house involves promoting it. You need to get the word out. Well, not right now, but normal times. You need to get the word out. You need to put it out there on social media. You need to put it out there into the internet. You need to get advertising up and marketing. It's easy to find out what's going on. All right. It's easy to use the public records to find out the identity of the owner, the seller, and other information. For example, mortgages to be paid off, right? I always have to get estoppel letters from the mortgage companies. And we get something sent to us that says this is where it goes. And the big banks, they don't want you calling to confirm their wire instructions. God forbid. So you have to, sometimes it gets a little scary. We're sure of what we've gotten. If we are the least bit unsure, we will not accept it. But things like that happen, okay? Most people involved in the transaction use unsecured email accounts. All right, and relatively unsecured social media accounts. It's very easy to spoof our account, like we talked about. We use a program to do the closings called Qualia. It's a cloud-based program, and by the way, I've done a bunch of reading about this. It's a hell of a lot safer than keeping it in-house. I can't afford to pay for the kind of protections that they have because they're a much bigger company and they can do it. Now, I've got all the protections that I can do, but let's face it, hackers got into the Pentagon. If they can get into the Pentagon, what I've got is nothing. The thing is, though, it's not that important to get into, so relatively safe, okay? So that program allows me to have a secure portal for each transaction. So everybody who's involved, they get an email and we tell them, you're going to get an email from us through Qualia. It's safe. It's going to have you set up an account with your own password. So you'll be able to get in, see what's going on. We will send you information directly through the portal. It's safe. And even though that's safe, do not trust our wire instructions, even through the portal. Make sure you call no matter what. Okay, that's the key. All right, and you can send us stuff and upload and download through the portal, and it is safe. Okay, most settlement agents now are doing that. or at least I hope they are. We've been aware of this stuff for about 2 years now, a year or two, because we've been the targets, serious targets, and we're trying to do everything we can to protect you and your customers' money. But now it's getting to the point where you have to start taking some of the burden as well and make sure your customers know all about it. Okay. By the way, you may not realize it, but there are attacks going on right now on your websites, your Google page, your Facebook account, your Twitter account, your everything, trying to get in. I know that my computers are constantly being attacked. I have firewalls, I've got all kinds of different stuff, and I'm trusting that my IT people are keeping me as protected as can be. But, you know, if you're just plugging in any place, you're probably not all that safe. Okay, so why do these things work? Well, first of all, greed. People think they're getting something that they need or want and everything else for nothing. They have this urgency about them. They pique your curiosity. Ooh, I wonder what this is all about. I've got to go see. It may be fear. Okay, they instill some kind of fear in you in order to get you to send money. Hi, this is the IRS. You have a warrant out for your arrest, and unless you send us $15,000 right now, we are going to have to arrest you. Yeah, people have fallen for that. It happens. And also, we want to trust people. You, realtors, you are trusted. You are trusted by your customers. They believe and know that you know what you're doing and that they can trust what you tell them to do. So if someone is able to spoof you and tell them to do something that they should not be doing, they don't realize they should not do it because they trust who you are. All right? So be very, very careful with that. Okay. There are a lot of red flags that show up when we're talking about real estate wire fraud. And the idea is all you have to do is just open your eyes to it. You're learning a bit about it now, and you're all of a sudden going to say, oh my God, that's what Peter was talking about when you see it. Hopefully you haven't been clicking on it anyway. You recognize that, you know, this is not real, but you'll see it's getting better and better. Remember, I told you yesterday, the email I got included the name of the HOA. Usually it just says, you know, here is your secure, I'm constantly getting, here is your secure package for your closing. Click here. And, you know, the nice thing about it is it's coming from a title insurance company, supposedly, which they're not sending it to me. And, you know, we recognize it's all fraudulent, but they're starting to get better and they are going to continue to get better. And the better they get, the more where we have to be. All right. So anything that sends up a red flag to you, you should be suspicious of, and you should be watching out for. So, for example, let's say you get an email from me. This looks like it's coming from me. Looks real. Yes. Oh, the one that I use is called Qualia, Qualia. And I believe there's one or two others out there. They're all cloud-based. There are a lot of older programs out there that do not have this capability, but your settlement agent may have set up their own specific portal or their own specific way of doing secure communication. You want to make sure that somebody somewhere has a secure way of connecting with you and your customers. Okay, good question. All right. This is the big one. This is one that was working for quite a while, and I'm sure they're still doing it. We changed the wire instructions. We've changed banks. We need you to send it here. And usually it's a few hours or at most a day before the wire is supposed to go out. It looks real. It's got the right logo on it. It sounds real. Nobody looks to see who's it really from. Okay. By the way, can you spoof on an email the name of the person that's coming from? Yes, you can. So even if the name on it is right, but if you click on it, you run over it or click on it, you'll see a different email address is where it really came from. All right. One thing, by the way, to be very careful about is never reply to emails. Always forward them. If you reply, you're using an email that you think is right, but it could be a spoofed email. If you're forwarding, you have to type in the email. So you have to make sure you're putting in all the correct letters for the email. It's just one little way that you can protect yourself. All right. So be very careful. By the way, they could have changed phone numbers on my signature line so that they call the wrong number and they say, yes, hi, yeah, we did change our account number. Yeah, I know it's a pain in the neck for us too. And we've been just going crazy because, the boss decided to change and we had to do it. And this is the new number. I mean, they make you believe that it's very real. All right. Or you get an email from somebody new. Now, in my office, generally, it's only 1 or 2 people that you will get emails from, the same people constantly. Some offices, because what we do is we give the file to one person and they're supposed to work it all the way through. Some offices, because, from a business standpoint, that's not a great idea, because now I've got to have people who know how to do everything. They have one person who does the file opening, one person who orders all the stuff, one person who does some of the processing, one person who does the pre-closing stuff, and then one person who does the closing and a final person who does the post-closing. Well, you want to watch out and be aware of who is sending, and this is something you tell your customers, be aware of who's sending it to you. If it's a new name, you might not want to trust it. If it's a new name, you might just want to call up and say, hi, is this Pike Law Firm? Yeah, I just got an email from Mary. Is Mary there? If Mary's there, then you talk to Mary and she says, yes, I did send it to you, and it's all good because you're calling a known phone number. You don't want it to be Mary calls you and says, hi, I'm going to be sending you an email. You're going to see it's from a new name and everything, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that, it's really real. It's okay. It's from me. It's okay to click on the stuff. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Call back to a known number. Don't just hit redial. Okay. Call back to a known number. All right. Another thing is where you get email from a different email address. And that's the easiest one to spot if you're looking for it. The sender is right there always. And if you run your cursor over it, you'll see what the email address is. And hopefully it's the right email address. If it's not, be careful. Be very worried about. All right. Now, you guys, you might change your email addresses. You move from one agency to another, and you're using their email account. And now you move to another one, so you're using a new email account. Now, I probably should not be saying this because the brokers are going to get very upset with me, but quite frankly, you want your own email account that stays with you wherever you go. Because if you're using the broker's email account, if you leave that broker, all your emails are gone. And if people email you over there, it's not forwarded to you over here. Somebody who did business with you 4 years ago, 5 years ago, doesn't have your new information. They're sending it to your old email address and you've lost that customer. So what you want to do is, the best thing for you to do is to have your own website. Beth, can I use you? Yeah, okay. Beth Brozart Real Estate, Beth Brozart Realtor.com. Or realtor dot what is the real estate one?
Mine is Beth at bethbecker.com.
Okay, but yeah, at bethbecker.com. That's great. .com, wait, what's
.net and or
there's one for real estate. I forgot what it was.
The other one is beth.becker@realtor.
Yeah, whatever it is. You want your own. You want your own IT person to make sure that you've got some kind of protection on it. And that way you've got your own email address at you. It's really hard to spoof an email address of at PikeRELaw.com, because you'd have to find PikeRFlaw.com available, pay for it, set it up, get the emails going. I mean, it's a lot more involved than just, going online and opening up a new Google account. All right, so be aware of that. It always helps to do something so that's personalized. It helps you and it helps your customers. All right, what if the email's missing its usual signature? Sometimes they get bored. I always have on my signatures, and by the way, I suggest you do this too. It just makes my life so much easier. Put down your name, very truly yours. Put down your name, your email address, your cell phone number, your, whatever it is that I need to be able to contact you. Because quite frankly, if I need to reach you, yes, I hopefully have it in my Qualia account. But if I've gotten an email in from you just regular and I need to get back to you and I got to call you, it's a pain in the neck to try and find your phone number sometimes. Have it in your signature line. It's a good thing and your customers will thank you for it, just so you know. Okay, another red flag is anytime an email asks for personal info. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody should ever email their social security number or their date of birth to anybody, anytime, ever at all. We need social security numbers from sellers because we have to fill out a 1099 to give them at closing. Our instruction sheet, our pages, our everything says, we're going to ask you for this, but do not write it down. Please call our offices so that we can just take it over the phone. You're giving it to a known number, somebody who you know, so that you know it is safe, okay? Really, anybody who's asking you to fill out a form that says, put in your social security number, that's frightening. A lot of employers ask for it. They shouldn't. Everybody asks for it. By the way, anytime anybody asks me for my social security number, the first thing I ask them is why? Why do you need it? And if they've got a good reason and it's somebody I know, I'll give it to them. If I'm in front of my doctor's office and they want it, they have me filling out those forms, fine. I ask why, because they really don't need it. No. And then they say, no, you don't have to fill that out. I said, good, I don't want to. All right. But if anybody asks for it to be emailed to them, don't do it. What you do is you fill out the whole form and you call the known number and you say, hi, I open up a new bank account for a new company and they want to know my social security number. I was like, yeah, okay, fine. I fill out all the forms without that information on it. I scan and I send it over to them through my secure portal. And then I call them and I say, listen, you're missing my social security number. Here it is. And by the way, I really get upset with this, well, we only want the last four of your social, which you got to give them, but stop and think about it. It's a hell of a lot easier to learn and know 4 digits than it is to know 9 digits. That's one of the craziest things for me. So yeah, be careful anytime anybody asks you to go ahead and send them your social security number. It's just, don't want to do it, okay? All right, and of course, we've spoken about this enough times. Don't click on links in emails. Don't click on links on anything that you can avoid clicking on links on. Now, of course, I shouldn't say we all, because I don't, but I'm sure a lot of people are on Facebook and all of these different things. And sometimes you'll say, hey, click here for more information. Or, it's highlighted so you can click the link and go see more information. Unless you are 100% sure it's safe, don't do it. By the way, for those of you who are under the age of, let's say, 30, I'm over the age of 30. We grew up just fine and we lived just fine without the internet, without clicking on links, without doing these things. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever do it. It's a wonderful shortcut. It's a wonderful thing to have, but be smart about it. Be careful. okay? You may get emails with a mysterious attachment. Never open attachments unless you are positive you know what it is. I drill this into my employees all the time. Nobody's allowed to just open anything. If it's something you're expecting, great. And you know who it's from, you've checked it, it looks good, go ahead. But if it's anything out of the ordinary, and we get it all the time, we get stuff from, I get a disbursement authorization from a realtor. I don't recognize the realtor's name. And it just says, here's my disbursement authorization. We're not opening it. Or they just send, I get something from the real estate agent, doesn't say anything on it. It just says, see attached. And the attachment doesn't have what it is. It doesn't say what case it's for, what file, what property or anything. It just says, see attached. We're not clicking on that. It's not happening, and it shouldn't happen with you either. Please be careful, all right? Also be aware of wires that are sent to a different name, all right? And one thing they do is they'll open up a bank account instead of being Pike Law Firm PA, which is my company, Pike Company LLC. It looks, maybe you won't realize it. Make sure it's the exact same name as the name of your settlement agent. Always. It should never be, nothing should be different. Everything should be exactly the same. By the way, anytime anybody is asking you to wire funds to a bank that is not in the state of Florida, it's probably phony, because we are required to have our escrow accounts in a bank that has a place of business in Florida. Now, I bank, I'll tell you, I bank at Valley National Bank, which is a New Jersey-based bank, but they have locations throughout the Eastern Seaboard, and they have locations here in Florida, in Sarasota. That's fine. But if it says to send it to, right here, Royal Bank of Canada, I chose that on purpose because RBC Bank, the Royal Bank of Canada, does not have any retail outlets anymore in Florida. They have places where you can go to do investments, things like that, but there are no retail establishments anymore in Florida. I wanted to find a Canadian bank that didn't have it, so I Googled it and I found it. All right, be careful. Check the bank. Make sure that it is something that makes sense. Okay? All right. What happens if, God forbid, your money gets stolen? Oh, I've got a question. Oh, we want to take a break. We can take a break. I don't have too much more to do, but yeah, let's take a break. I can't see what time it is. I'm sorry. It's 25 to 3. So I tell you what, let's take a 10-minute break. A quarter of, everybody come on back, and we'll get doing some more. For those of you out there, if you have questions, just put it into the chat box and I'll answer your questions when we come back. And cut. I don't know if it's that cut.
Now, you remember when I first started? I think that should have been a little more.
Oh, that's what I thought.
So one of the things that I think that was one of the things that you were like adamant about. And someone said, I thought you were it's not your money.
Doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And all of your customers Oh, I could have done that. I am, yes, it is working. I am now unmuted, so that's great. We're going to get started again in about 40 seconds. Once everybody who's in here gets back into their seat, or maybe before they return to their seat. I've got one person on the phone, so I'll give her a few more seconds. No, she's not. Are you okay? I'm waiting for you. It's okay.
Oh, you're waiting for me?
I'm trying to be nice.
You are being very nice. This is somebody I'm telling time. She wants a house. Hey.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to be nice. Okay. Okay. Well, there's only four people here. So I might as well be nice to you. I'm trying to be nice to you out there also and be considerate, but I can't see you and I don't know who's out there. So I apologize if I'm not giving you enough eye contact. I'm trying to. Okay. Best practices. Hopefully, I have put the fear of God into you because it is a very scary, dangerous thing. We need to do everything we can to be able to cut down on wire fraud. By the way, it's not going away. All right. And unfortunately, this is their job. Their job is to try to steal your money. And that's what they do. All right. So be careful. They're constantly coming up with new ways, new things, stuff that I don't even think of right now. That's why you just have to always be watching out for what's going on. All right. These practices that we're going to talk about will make it much, much more difficult for them to win. Is it a guarantee that they will never win? No, there's no guarantees in this. All right. The only guarantee is cut yourself off from the internet, which we're not doing. So just please be aware, be wary. And I'm going to give you the FBI contact information towards the end. Write it down someplace so that if something does happen, contact them immediately and you have a chance at least of getting that money back. Okay, one thing is unsecure, open source, outdated email platforms are a problem. All right. Try not to use these if you can. They're not very secure. And as I pointed out earlier, they're pretty easy to spoof. All right, Sally Sells SRG really looks a lot like Sally Sells SRQ. And Sally, if you're out there, I made that one up, but I don't know if that's a real one or not. So I apologize if you're out there. I really didn't pick on you, but you might want to consider changing your email address. All right, there's no mandate anywhere for realtors to use secure communications. All right. I, as an attorney and as a title agent, it's not that I have a mandate to do it, but I kind of do have an obligation to use it. I've been told by the Florida bar that we are expected to have secure communications with our customers, with our clients. So I have to. All right. And as a title agent, my title insurer, my underwriter, is constantly checking with everybody to see what are you doing to protect yourselves? Because if I get sued, they're going to get sued too, because somebody's going to try and get, they've got money. They know I don't. All right. All right. So it's something to be careful with. You might want to look into at least making sure your settlement agent and the bank that you refer people to are using some kind of a secure portal to communicate back and forth. All right. It's important that you do that. There's got to be some kind of encryption between the between the sender and the recipient, so that it's not so easy, even if they intercept the email in the middle, to be able to tell what's going on. All right. That's one of ALTA's best practices. ALTA is the American Land Title Association. So like I said, we are expected to do that if we want to be able to write title insurance. Okay. Beware of emails that claim to be secure and require you to log in to see them. All right. If you're not expecting that email, or if it doesn't have enough information on it to make you feel comfortable with it, call the known number and find out. Please instruct your customers about this. And by the way, you can say to them, listen, you're going to be getting something from, Pike Law Firm because they're going to be doing the closing. And here is the phone number for them, or whoever your company is. Please call them when it comes in before you open it and confirm they sent it to you. I'm pretty sure, I know that my office will be happy to tell you, yes, we did. And do you need some help in figuring out how to do it? I'm pretty sure most other offices will have that same attitude, because remember, we're responsible for their money. And I recognize it's not my money, and I'm trying to be as careful as possible with it, because listen, if $1 million deal goes south on me, I don't have $1 million to pay it off. It's just not there. It's not happening. And I can't afford to pay. I don't even think I can get that kind of insurance. I think the maximum somebody told me once was like 50,000 or 100,000, which it's not even worth buying because it's not going to do anything for you. All right. Most buyers and sellers are also unaware of how vulnerable they are. We were talking during the break, and one of the agents here said to me, Pierre, I was in one of your other seminars where you were mentioning something about this. And one of the agents who was there kind of whispered, why should we care? And I was ready to just beat her up. And I explained, listen, this was all new agents. They don't know. And by the way, your customers, your buyers and sellers, as a general rule, don't know. We're starting to get the word out to you about you having the target. And by the way, your buyers and sellers, they have no clue. And again, don't scare them off. There's no reason to scare them. Just make them aware to be a little bit afraid, a little bit. Enough so that they're vigilant. Thank you. That's the word. So that they are vigilant and watching out for anything that just doesn't feel right. Okay? And by the way, make sure they understand we're only looking out for their best interests. It's their money. Okay. Be sensitive to using reply all. Now, personally, I can't stand it. I get enough spam as it is, and I have a good spam filter and I'm constantly updating it. But when people hit reply all, it's like, I don't need to know this stuff. Please make sure you're only sending things to the people who need to see it. Because if you hit reply all and somebody had spoofed somebody's email address in there, you're just giving them more information, okay? The thieves count on somebody being overwhelmed and distracted and not thinking about what they're doing, right? And they can insert their own email address. And you might not even notice it in a, 7 email addresses. You're not gonna notice who's in the middle there, okay? Don't post specific information on any transactions until after closing. Now, that doesn't mean don't market your properties. Obviously, you need to market your properties. But when the transaction gets started, when a contract is signed, don't put it up on your websites. Obviously, you have to show it in the MLS. That's bad enough. Because believe me, I'm sure some of these people have figured out a way to get into the MLS and see these things. But don't give them extra, okay? All right. Make sure your customers are aware, like I said before, that they should not be doing this either. All right. Anybody who's posting specific information before closing is just giving people an opportunity to steal money. And by the way, that could be found by a judge to be the cause of the theft, and the person who did that could potentially be liable. I'm not saying that you are, because there's no cases directly on point about those things, but there's going to be more and more cases, and judges are always going to try to find, if they can, somebody to make an innocent victim whole. So if your buyer or seller is the innocent victim and it was somebody else in the transaction who may have done something, you may be held responsible, okay? All right, now, Posting after closing is acceptable, but there are other scammers out there trying to get money from people who just purchased a property. There's a recording office scam that's out there, by the way, and I tell everybody who closes with me about it. Everybody who buys a house here in Florida, about a month after the closing, they get this very official looking letter from the recording department. And it says, you don't really own your home. You don't know you own your home unless you have a certified copy of your deed. And today, for the low, low price of just $99, we will send it to you. It's garbage. Don't fall for it. Let your people know about it. You know, give them a little added bonus and say, hey, listen, you're going to be getting this letter. Throw it in the garbage. You don't need it. Don't even think about it. All right. All right. Never accept electronic wire instructions. Always use a known phone number to confirm everything. All right. That is the number one thing. Always. If you are going to hand out wire instructions to your buyers, which is fine, ask your settlement agent to print out a number of their forms for you. You've got them. You know where they came from. You know they're safe. When we go to close, I have the seller fill out for me their wire instructions where they want me to send their wires. I do not like taking it over the internet. I make sure that we confirm everything at least twice when it comes, through email or anything else. But if they're sitting there in front of me or people in my office and they're filling it out, you can't get better than that. That's as safe as you can get. Okay. If they gave me the wrong information, well, God bless you. God bless you. If they gave you the wrong information, that's we try and help them, but it's they have to make sure they've got the right thing too. All right. Okay. All right. Make sure your settlement agent is using a secure portal to send and receive information and still verify verbally. By the way, for those of you who recognize this, no, a TARDIS is not a secure portal. Thank you for those of you who have watched that show. But anyway, let's move on. I try to put some cute things in that are just there for people who might know or that I know. So, it's from Doctor Who, just so you know, a British TV show and whatever. Anyway, let's move on. Okay. Okay, this is, by the way, the oldest trick in the book, even older than Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown. All right, we're almost there. I mean, the last few days before closing, I've got to tell you, everybody's hair is on fire. It's like, how come you didn't tell me this was happening? How come we haven't balanced yet? What do you mean you don't know how much money I owe? How much money I owe? I got to send you money. How much money do I owe? How much do I owe? And I can promise you, your settlement agents are trying their best to balance with the bank as fast as they possibly can. But we don't want to tell you a number to send until we know that they agree with the number. Because if there's a change, you get upset, we get upset, and it's a problem. So first, recognize it's all going to be okay. Take a deep breath. All right, that's number one. Number two, fraudsters, by the way, are taking advantage of this because they know everybody's anxious, everybody's worried. Any last minute changes to anything, changes to your settlement statement after it's been balanced. By the way, it happens. It's possible. Changes of that nature, anything else, you have to be wary of. That doesn't mean it's wrong. That doesn't mean necessarily a problem, but anything out of the ordinary, go to a different place to close. All right. Could happen. You might be winding up in the wrong place and giving money to the wrong people. All right. Anything that's out of the ordinary, red flag goes up. You need to confirm it again with a known phone number. All right. It is very uncommon for title companies or for attorneys to change things at the very last second. I can't even think, the only thing that really does change sometimes the settlement statement changes because, oops, somebody forgot something, something happened. And by the way, if that happens, usually you will get a phone call from the company first explaining it to you, because we don't want you to be surprised at closing. Okay, we talked about this a little bit. Forward your emails, don't just hit reply. I mean, you obviously, when you know it's from your cousin, you can go ahead and just hit reply. But if we're not 100% sure, forward it and type in the email address to make sure it's going to the right people. By the way, this helps you find out if it's the right email address or not, because usually you'll have the correct email address. You've worked with the title company before, you know all those email addresses. You've worked with the bank before, you know all those email addresses. You've worked with the inspection company, all the different things you've worked with, you know what the correct email address is. And if you're forwarding it, you're good. If you hit reply, you might be replying to a phony address. Now, you might want to hit reply and then type in the correct address and see if it's a little bit different. And then you'll know that there might be a problem. Just little things like this are a help. Next, warn early and warn often. Obviously, nobody oh, you got that, right? Okay, thank you. Thank God she's here. Like I said, I sometimes put little things up and I'm never sure if people are going to get in. That's from Lost in Space, the original one. And I used to watch, I love that show. It's like, warning, Will Robinson, danger, danger. But yeah, if you didn't ever see that, you'd have no clue what that picture was all about. But warn everybody early and often. Make sure everybody is aware that it's possible that something like this can happen. It's not going to happen in every transaction. I mean, right now, I have seen in the last 3 years, maybe 2 or 3 instances that came close. I mean, there were a lot that, everybody knows that's a scam, but they're getting better and it's going to be more and more, and just be aware. And by the way, don't be disappointed if it doesn't happen to you. Be very happy that you dodged this bullet, that you were fine. And a lot of times, most of the time, everything is okay. All right. All right. So warn early and often. Educate all of your customers, please. Mrs. Maisel. Yes. Okay. Okay. Like I said, I try and make these as fun as they can be. All right. Educate your customers. Let them know up front that there is a possibility of these things happening and that they just have to be aware and careful. If they're not expecting something, they should call you to your known cell phone number. Don't go changing your phone number. Yeah, don't go breaking my heart too. Thank you. All right, don't change your phone number, okay? It's really important so that they know what's going on. All right? Best practices, phone calls. Call, call, call. I know nobody likes to talk to anybody anymore. I know it's all texting, it's all whatever, my God, I don't want to go near that phone and talk to somebody. Do it. It's the safest and best way to know that what's going on is real. All right. So what else? Let's plan for the worst. We have in my office a management plan, just in case something goes wrong. And we know who we're calling right away so that we can try and get things done. All right. Make sure you report a problem immediately to your bank that sent it out and to the bank that's supposed to actually be receiving it. Report it to the police. It's important to know. Let them know. Call the sending bank to see if they can recall the money. By the way, one other thing that you should always do, if you're sending out a wire, how fast does it take for a wire to get to once it leaves the sending bank, how long does it take to get to the receiving bank? Anybody have any idea?
30 seconds?
I got an answer of 30 seconds, and it's probably even faster than that. Because I can tell you, I've had people in the bank call me up and say, okay, I just initiated the wire. And while they're on the phone with me, I get the email from my bank saying it came in. Okay, they are ridiculously fast. Now, some dirty little secrets. some of the larger banks, the big banks, for example, like maybe Stagecoach Bank, let's use that one. They may not send out that wire so fast. It's got to go to their wire department and they've got to put it in and it's got blah, 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 blah. And if you go and initiate the wire at, 9 o'clock in the morning, they might not send it until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Why do they do that? It's called float. If you have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in wires going out every day, keeping that money in your bank for those extra 8 hours is worth a lot of money to the bank. They earn more interest on the money having it there. So what you want to do is when you do the wire, call the recipient and say, I initiated the wire. Please let me know when you receive it. If it's not received within an hour, you may want to call up your bank and say, hey, was it sent? Confirm the wire instructions while you're on the phone with the receiver. Make sure it went to the right place. Now, 1 hour later, if you call the FBI, okay, file a complaint, see at the bottom, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, all right? If you do that in time, they can often get these wires back and safe for you, all right? Your title company should have an incident response plan. Ours is we call up the FBI immediately. We call up our bank, we call up the other bank, we call up the FBI. We do everything we can as fast as possible, okay? If there's insurance, contact the insurance carriers as quickly as possible. By the way, if the funds were wired out of the United States, maybe if you hire an attorney in that country, you might be able to do something to get it back. You also might be throwing good money after bad, okay? Once it gets out of the country, across the border, and it can't be recalled, it's odds are you're never gonna see that money again, okay? So that's why make sure you go ahead and notify people, yes. Okay, are we covered if we have the customer sign the Florida Realtors wire fraud disclosure? Covered? No. Is that a good practice? Heck yes. All right. Everything should be done to try and get your customer educated. Because let's make believe you're Sally who sells SRQ. And Sally's listening to me right now, and I just told her that's really not a good website to use. But Sally who's selling SRQ doesn't care, and somebody gets Sally sells SRG and is able to insert themselves into the whole thing, and they send a fraudulent notice out. I'm not saying that Sally's going to lose in that case, but I'm not going to. But I am going to say that having somebody sign that little fraud, the warning disclosure, that might not be enough. If Sally, who sells SRQ, has posted all over the internet, hey, look, I sold this house 2 seconds after it got sold, and she's giving everybody every chance possible. And she's the one who clicked on the link that allowed the fraudster in. I'm just saying to you, there is nothing that's going to keep you safe other than practicing these ideas and trying to be safe about them. Not clicking on links, not doing these things, okay? By the way, learn how everyone communicates. If your buyer is constantly communicating to you via text and you're texting them back, and now all of a sudden they get an email from you, tell them they should be suspecting something like that. All right, my office, we will almost always be communicating through that secure portal with the buyers. All right. If they get something that's not through that secure portal and looks like it's coming from us, beware. Be worried. Worry about that. Find out what your title companies are doing. How are they communicating? And let your people know, this is what you should be expecting. By the way, What is your job as a real estate agent? You're really not selling houses anymore. You're helping people through a very, very complex transaction. You're supposed to know what to do, and you're supposed to be educating them about what they are supposed to do. This is part of your job, educating them, letting them know this is what to expect. You need to go and get your loan application in. By the way, you should expect to get the closing, the loan estimate within a few days. Let them know what to expect, and it'll be much, much safer. So always make sure you know let them know how they are going to be communicated to. And if they get something that sounds a little strange, be careful. I love this next picture. Okay, please be aware of free Wi-Fi. If you are sitting in Starbucks and you're using their free Wi-Fi, it is possible for every other person within that store to see everything that you are doing. Now, listen, everybody in that store is not waiting there to try and spy on your deals. But it is possible that the one time you are there, there was somebody there who was trying to get in there. Free Wi-Fi is very, very dangerous. Okay, if you're sitting in your doctor's office and it's free Wi-Fi, again, anybody else there who's on it can actually see what you're doing. I don't know how to do that, but I've been told it's very easy. Okay, be careful with how you do it. Just be careful. Okay, use complex passwords. Okay, complex means don't use swordfish to get into the speakeasy, because everybody who's over the age of 50 knows that swordfish is what the Marx Brothers used to get into the speakeasy, okay? Everybody knows that one. Come up with strange things using letters, numbers, symbols, make it as hard to, make it impossible for you to remember it. So you have to write it down. The more complex it is, the harder it is for somebody to break into your stuff, all right? Next. Okay, don't open attachments. Think before you click. Always, always, always. Is there another question? Well, what about airport Wi-Fi? What do you think? No, but you're paying for it. No, public Wi-Fi is a dangerous thing. If you're going to just use it to say hello to your cousins, to go on Facebook and just see what's going on stuff, fine. Do not use it to send anything that might have to do with a pending transaction, okay? Oh, and by the way, free Wi-Fi, wonderful thing and all that and everything else. You have to be careful with it. And what was I going to say now? I can't remember. I hate getting old. I had something really important. Oh, well, hopefully I'll think of it in a few minutes. All right. But again, back to think before you click. All right. Be very careful with that. Okay. Another thing is always look for the S. Do you ever notice on websites, it's usually HTTP :// whatever. If there's no S, it is not a secure website. If it has the S, generally it's a secure website. Now, does that mean that you're totally safe and everything's okay and wonderful? No, of course not. Nothing's ever totally okay and wonderful. But if you look for the S and it's a website that you know of and they're using the S, you should be fairly secure. If you're going on to Amazon.com, you'll see when you log in, it's HTTPS. You know it's secured and it's relatively safe. I go to Amazon and yes, I put my credit card number in because I am comfortable that it is safe. Never put your credit card number into anything that does not have that S at the end of it, okay? We talked about monitoring the progress of the wires. Tell your customers to monitor it, to find out, was it received yet? All right. If I send a wire to somebody, I'm telling you right now, it hits their account within about 15 seconds of it being sent. So I input it from my computer. I know it goes through my bank and everything else. It usually takes 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes, and this is what I love about my bank, they call me to confirm the wire. It's like, all right, did you tell me how much it's for? Who's it going to? And did you confirm verbally all the wire instructions? And we have to say yes before they'll send it. But usually within a half an hour to an hour of my inputting it, you will have that money. Okay. And if you don't, and I tell everybody, if you don't have the money by this time, call my office immediately so that we can put a trace on it. That's what people need to do. Okay. What do you do if fraud does happen? Well, the faster you take action, the better your chances of getting the money back. If it's within 24 hours, there's a real chance that the Crime Complaint Center, the FBI, they have the Internet Crime Complaint Center, or the Federal Trade Commission might be able to get that back for you, okay? You need to contact them immediately and let them know what happened, all right? Next, report it to the police, we talked about that, okay? You always want to work with people who are aware of these issues and who have taken steps to minimize them, all right? Again, ask your title company and ask your banker, how do you keep information secure? Think about it yourself. How are you keeping people's information secure, and what can we do about it? Ask if they are using a secure portal. What do they do when obtaining and sending confidential information? How is it protected? Do they allow people to email them social security numbers? If they do, what do they send? Do they email settlement packages out to customers? By the way, in a buyer settlement package, generally speaking, there's going to be a couple of places where their social security number is, because there's going to be a copy of their loan application, which really should not be sent, other than through secure portals. Sellers, same thing, because within the seller's package is that 1099, which will have their social security numbers on it. So they have to know that it's protected. You want to find out what they do. Ask them what's their plan if something does go wrong. All right. Ask them how their wires are handled. What do they do? How do they make sure that everything is safe? How do they, do they call? Do they not call? What do they do? All right. And make sure that you can reach a known person, someone you know at that office, just in case there's a problem. All right. So you know what's going on with the file. All comes down to constant vigilance. That's what we all need to do. Okay. Are there any questions at all? For those of you who are out there online, please, if you have any comments for me, please email them to me. Here's my email address. Now this says closings at, but use Peter at pikelaw.com, P-I-K-E, R as in real, E as in estate, L-A-W.com. I would love to get feedback from you on what you felt about this. You don't have to send me something saying, oh, it was terrific or anything. That doesn't help me. This is the first time I'm presenting this, and I'd like to know, what did I get right? What did I get wrong? What more do you need? What less do you need? So I can make this into a better presentation. Okay, anything over there, Cassie? No questions. Any questions here? Well, in that case, class dismissed. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful. Please be safe.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.